Hi, this is Brad with M&M Distribution, Asphalt-SilCoatingDirect.com, and in this video I'm going to be talking about how to repair polyethylene parts, including lids, which you're looking at here. This is a standard 16-inch lid out of one of our polyethylene seal coat tanks, and but you can anything polyethylene you can repair regardless of what it is or the color it is. This particular tank has a gouge in the top of it, so we're going to try to weld that shut using our polyethylene welding tool with the welding rod. And I'm going to go through this step-by-step process of how to do that. With enough patience and enough practice, you can actually blend some of the black from the non-damaged surfaces of the perimeter of the damaged area and pull that plastic in over the white plastic that we're going to put in the damaged area. And so we'll be going through that step by step in the process. The first step we're going to do is we're going to clean this tank really well with this wire brush. This brush actually comes in the kit that you're going to get whenever you buy this welding tool. And we're going to brush that up real good and make sure there's no oil or any dirt or anything on this surface. When you order the kit, you're going to get the welding gun, you're going to get a little stand for the gun, you're going to get a wire brush, and you're going to get several feet of the welding rod all in one package. And that's enough rod to last you a long time. Alright, you can see where I've roughed up the surface with this little brush that comes in the kit. Now the gun, I've let it preheat for about 10 minutes before I start using it. And this little tip on top of it right here, that's actually where you're going to insert the poly welding rod down into the top of that tip, and it's going to come out through the base of the tip. And you just kind of really have to learn to take your time here. This is actually a pretty good gouge, and most of the time you won't have that big of a gouge you know, in whatever you're repairing. The biggest thing I see is these tanks, these polyethylene tanks. You know, they can, out on the field, they get nicks and stuff in them, and we've never had one broken or leaking, but you know, guys want to fix them when they do get damaged, and this is the most effective way of doing that. But like I said, anything polyethylene plastic, I don't care what it is, battery cases, toys, you know, anything like that, you can actually use this welding gun to repair that damage with. So we're going to start right now. I do want to mention one other thing. If you want to accelerate this whole process, many of you have just a heat gun, like, you know, a normal heat gun, and you got to really be careful because you can do some damage real quick. But if you want to heat the surface up just a little bit, it really helps get this thing moving faster. Okay, what we're going to do here, we're going to first of all warm our surface up that we're going to be working on. And like I said, you can use a heat gun. It'll make it quicker, but it's a lot more riskier because you can damage the plastic pretty fast with it. But like if it was really cold and you were working with this gun out in your garage or something, or your shop and it was cold, heat gun would be the way to go on that. But for just what we're doing here, we're not going to use a heat gun. So we're going to insert the rod into the top of the gun to where the material begins to protrude a little bit through the bottom. We're going to mash that down, okay, just like so, and we're going to work with that and just in a circular motion. And we're just going to continue to work it around in circles, and at the same time pushing our rod down into the gun so that the material actually flows through the tip of the gun. And this will take a little bit of practice, and then I'll show you what we'll do here in a minute to smooth all this down. And I'm trying to keep my hand out of the way too, which is making it harder so you can see what I'm doing. But I want to build this up, okay? And if you get it too high, you can sand it back down, you can melt it back down. And a lot of this has depending on the thickness of the material that you're fixing. If it's real thick, you know, you can move your gun a little slower, but if it's thin, you don't want to sit in one spot too long because it'll melt through. Okay, so we've just about got our crack filled up now, okay? And it doesn't take much rod, particularly if you're pulling material back and forth from the existing surface. It goes fairly quickly. Okay, and we've got our hole filled. Now we're just going to work those edges around a little bit and smooth them down, and once this cools, we can sand this down a little bit. And I might even come back in here later and put a little more, you know, if you're not happy, if you still have a little bit of a recession, which I do here, but I'm not too worried about that. The main part of the damage is fixed. But if you wanted to, you could come back in and build this up with more material. But you know, like I said, take a piece of sandpaper and sand this down if you want a nice smooth finish. Now as this cools, you're going to notice that the patched area is a different color. It'll actually be a whiter color, and I can't really say that paint would fix that, because paint probably is not going to stick to this very well, and without painting the entire lid it's going to look funny. So probably not do anything, but just sand it, or you know, smooth up the surfaces and leave it alone. If you were repairing other products like toys or something like that, where you might want to paint it, that'd be fine. But as it dries, you can see around the edges already where it's gonna be a different color. It's gonna be a lot lighter color, and that's because of the white rod. So it's not a hard process, and it does take a little bit of practice. But the main thing is just take your time and don't melt through whatever you're working on, because this gun is hot. I don't know what temperature it runs at, but it's extremely hot, and it will, you know, if you let it sit in one spot too long, you'll have a hole in whatever you're working on. So other than that, it's a pretty easy process.